and will be put onto Leeds Libraries Tech Talks on YouTube. So if you do not want to be seen, please make sure you keep your video off and your mic off, and you will not appear at all. The chat as well won't be able to be screened. Okay, and just to remind everyone, this is a really safe space for everyone to talk about ideas and resources. So we want to keep it that way. If anyone is inhabiting inappropriate behaviour, I will ask them to leave, so that we keep it all nice and kind. Okay, so I think that is everyone in at the moment, and I will just let you know what's going to go on today. So yeah, as I say, this is Leeds Libraries Tech Talks. My name's Claire Duffield and I'm Digital Engagement Librarian for Leeds Libraries, which means I do some really cool stuff. I get to run these tech talks, code clubs, and also I do some social media as well. And what I wanted to do during lockdown, which is when these tech talks started, was keep in touch with our networks and build them as well. I wanted to create a really inclusive network where people can access information no matter what their skill level or knowledge of digital and tech is. So we're bringing together people who might not have any experience in digital at all with some of the most expert people in Leeds, such as our talker today, which is Deb Hetherington from Women in Leeds Digital and Platform as well. And we're very, very lucky to have Deb today because she doesn't do a lot of talks. So I'm very happy to have her. Before I go over to Deb, I'm just going to talk you through a little bit about what we are doing in Leeds Libraries, and specifically around our tech mums as well. So just bear with me whilst I share my screen. Okay, so during lockdown, I'm going to mention it again, we came up with libraries from home. So we wanted to make sure that people could still reach us, get out ebooks, and also enjoy amazing resources and activities. Our libraries are now opening again with really good safety guidelines to make sure that you are kept safe. And you can have a little look at our full list of libraries on leeds.gov.uk/libraries. And you can also peruse our catalogue of books on there. And we've also got a library app. So if you have a wee look there, it says yourlibraryapp.co.uk/Leeds. And that means that you can reserve books for free from any of our open libraries to be sent to your local library for pickup. We also have computers available, so you can book a free 45-minute slot on our computers, but you need to phone to do that. And that has been massively missed by the people of Leeds. A lot of us think that everyone's digitally included these days, but that's not the case at all. Some people can't afford data or even a device. Even if they have a mobile phone, they might not be able to actually get onto the internet to search for jobs, look for benefit, look for health resources and that kind of thing. So it's really important that those computers are now available again to people. We've got a weekly online activity calendar, and that includes all types of things, including a book club, also Throwback Thursday, which you can have a little look at today from our local family and history librarians, which is a really nice little thread, and also Lego Club and daily story times. Okay, other things that we have going on in Leeds Libraries is that we have free Wi-Fi for people, and also you can book in a digi drop-in, which means that you can get one-to-one digital advice with someone over the phone if you are struggling. So if you have any family members or relatives who need a little bit of help, do get in touch. I'm also going to big up our wonderful Studio 12. If you haven't heard of Studio 12, have a look at them. It's a free media resource for people aged 16 to 30-year-olds, and they can get involved in all sorts of things, from creating their own music to video editing, film editing, that's showing my age, isn't it? And poetry. Okay, and we also have the wonderful Code Clubs, which is sponsored by City Fibre, which means if your family complete 3 challenges, you get a £20 Pimoroni voucher to buy more tech, and that's pretty cool. I'm quite jealous myself. This month we are looking at microbits, which are free to lend from a library, and they're like tiny little computers that you can program. They've got little LEDs on them, and your code can determine what those LEDs do. So we thought that would be a fantastic link to Light Night this year. So we're creating our very own artistic displays with the families. And if you go onto our Facebook and events, you'll be able to witness that on Friday, the 23rd of October. I think it's the 23rd. Okay. Leeds Libraries is also leading on digital inclusion within the city. So this is our lovely team, the 100% digital team. You might have seen them before, and they do some fantastic work through tablet lending, training digital champions, and helping our third sector organisations to expand their digital reach as well. So included in that is our Tech Mums clubs. So we've had 2 years of this in last year and this year. It's a 10-week course, and it is created by Dr. Sue Black, who you can see in the bottom of that photo there. She's a fantastic advocate of mums and how they can be the influencers in their communities. If you teach a mum something, she's going to teach the whole family and also the rest of the community. So this is a 10-week course, and it goes through taster sessions, including social media, coding, web design, and one of the most popular things was online safety. A lot of mums are unsure what their families are doing online, and they just want to find out a little bit more and be able to help their children to navigate that. It's a really nice and relaxed club. We had 3 of them across Leeds, and we all just come together and we share ideas and resources. So it's not like a really, taught lesson. As librarians, we're guides, which means that we learn something every week as well. And that's my preferred way of learning, really. So we had 43 graduates in the first year, and this picture is from our celebration event where we invited people from the tech and digital industries in Leeds to celebrate with their mums, and the mums told us about how their confidence and their skills had grown throughout the programme, and it was just really, really lovely event. And because of all that, it was a winner of the Women in IT Excellence Awards. So hopefully we'll be able to do that again in the future, and we will keep you in knowledge of that. We'll let you know what's happening. Also, just want to say, please do join us for Empowering Women with Tech on Ada Lovelace Day next week. Have a look at this phenomenal lineup of speakers. I'm really, really looking forward to hearing from Helen Sharman, which is the Britain's first astronaut. It was not a man. So if you're interested in that, have a look at meetups and just search for Empowering Women with Tech, and please do join us for that one. And that is enough for me today. Just a bit of a short whistle-stop tour of what we're doing digitally in libraries and across the council. So we're going to go on to our guest talker, who's Deb. If you want to ask Deb any questions, please do in chat, and I will be able to field them to Deb afterwards. So take it away, Deb. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's see if this works. Can you all see that? Yeah. Okay. Hello, I'm Deb Hetherington. For those that don't know me, I'm the Head of Innovation for Bruntwood SciTech here in Leeds, and we are the UK's largest property provider for tech and science businesses. I'm also a co-founder of Wild, which is a community-led organisation that creates roadmaps for diverse groups to get into digital roles to address the skills gap, but also ensure technology is truly representative of society. So I also have the pleasure of sitting on a number of boards and steers across the city, for the Leeds Digital Festival, for the LEP, Leeds City Council Digital Board, Leeds BID, and I'm also an associate at Leeds Beckett University. So I'm deeply passionate about Leeds and its social and economic successes. And I'm proud to be part of some truly inclusive programmes across the city. So just to expand a little bit about Wild and what we do there. So we recently held our annual conference, which went down really well, received some great feedback, and as an organisation, we focus on 3 key areas. So the first is we've titled as Being Digital. So how early careers, grads, retrainers and returners can start their digital journey through the support that's available to them in the city, as well as highlighting success stories of those that have done it already. The second pillar is we've titled Build Digital, and that is the pillar that illustrates how individuals can start their own business or side hustle, it's often referred to as, and again showcases the range of support that's available across the city and the wider region, and again highlights some of the success stories of those who've been there and done that. Just a little stat, 6 out of 10 women who go off on maternity leave actually have an idea to start a business, and a lot of them actually really great ideas. But a much lower number actually do that, and we think one of the reasons for that is because they aren't aware of the support groups and the business support that they can tap into. So we actively target those diverse groups and those that require support to be able to achieve their goals in this space. The last pillar is Belong Digital, so belonging in a digital ecosystem, where we highlight the activity that the public sector, private sector and third sectors are carrying out in this space. So best practice, if you will, to illustrate where other organisations can potentially improve. We also like to showcase the variety of diverse groups that are out there in the city and champion the incredible work that they're doing. Claire just mentioned Empower Women with Tech, which is just a phenomenal organisation, and I'm really looking forward to that day as well, actually, particularly Helen Sharman. So yeah. So that's a bit about Wild. Recently rebranded Wild from Women in Leeds Digital, as we're now concentrating on the full diversity piece, which is really important to us. That's me and my co-founder Sarah Tulip. So, okay, on to my talk. Before I go into detail of this talk, I want to start with a little exercise. Okay, so I'm going to ask you all to close your eyes. Quite difficult to track on a virtual, especially because all your screens are blinked off. But I can see you, Joe. So close your eyes. Okay, I'm going to paint a picture here, right? Imagine it's your birthday and you're hosting the best party you have ever held. You've got ice sculptures, you've got a magician, not like a children's birthday magician, like a cool hip magician who makes your mobile phone disappear and wind up in your best friend's pint glass. Champagne's flowing, your favourite tunes are playing, you've planned this thing for months and now you're ready. Champagne flute in hand, waiting for your guests to arrive. The doorbell rings and you open the door and everyone you know is there. You welcome everyone in. Now imagine, what do all your guests look like? Are they tall, short, blonde, brunette, glamorous, or pretty cash? Okay, open your eyes. Now, if you look a little bit like this, do all your guests look a little bit like this? And if you look a little bit like this, do all your guests look a little bit like this? So today I want to talk about diversity and inclusion. Don't get me wrong with that intro activity. It isn't a discussion about race specifically. This isn't a black and white discussion, either figuratively or literally. This is about race in the whole. And this lunchtime, we will cover the concept of diversity and inclusion, why it's important, particularly in the business world, particularly in the tech world, and how we can get better at it. So I'm going to task you all with some actions to take out into your workplaces as employees, leaders, advocates, and passionate people about diversity and inclusion, which I would presume you are being on this call. I know that many of the speakers on the Leeds Library Talk have actually also covered this topic in the past, some of which are friends of mine and are just exceptional speakers and inspiring people, so I am feeling no pressure. As a founder of a diversity organisation, I believe myself to be a diversity champion. I have a wide range of friends and family of different colour, creed and preference, but I was shocked at how many people at my imaginary party looked and acted just like me. So perhaps I'm not being actively discriminatory, but I also identify that I have a long way to go before being truly inclusive. So I went on holiday pre-COVID, obviously. This was a good few years ago, actually. And I remember getting on the plane and I saw the cockpit door was open, right? And I turned my head and saw a woman pilot sat there. Now, I'm not proud of myself for feeling this, but I did have a twinge of unease. My view of what a good pilot was made up of movies like Top Gun and a plethora of other mid-90s examples, as well as having grown up in a military household where 99% of the pilots, and certainly the ones that I came into contact with, were men. Let's just sidestep the fact that if I was going on holiday in an F-14 fighter, then that would be a different kind of twinge of unease. Now, you can take a test which shows you the level of unconscious bias you have. It's called the implicit association test. It's worth taking this to see how purposeful you need to be in your actions around diversity and inclusion. Give it a Google, the implicit association test. Our unconscious minds are responsible for these kinds of thoughts, and they can be trained to think differently. That's the good news. So the concept I'm going to talk about today is the inclusivity spectrum, which is a concept that I heard on a TEDx talk about 5 years ago, and it really resonated with me. Okay, we're all on the inclusivity spectrum. Some of us are entirely bigoted, probably not those on the call today, or I would hope not, and some are entirely inclusive, right? So my question is, wherever we are on that spectrum, what if we all took one step toward being more inclusive? Looking at circumstances in a more objective way without the preconceived biases we have been conditioned to use. And I'm not saying that is an easy thing to do. In fact, it's pretty damn hard. Which is why I'm going to highlight some tools which will help you through that. I'll also highlight some tools of how to use PowerPoint. But okay, so here is an example which is really personal to me, and it kind of just highlights the idea of the spectrum and puts it into context. So I've known that I was gay since I was about 13 years old, but I grew up in a religious and military household. So although not overtly criticised, the concept of homosexuality was deeply frowned upon. And I believed for a very long time, until I came out at 28 or 29, that I was being tested by my faith. Another story, won't get into that today. But when I did come out, and homosexuality went from being an objective to a subjective point within our household, my father, who's also a minister, didn't drop a beat before saying he was proud of me and loved me no matter what. Now, his outlook on homosexuality didn't change overnight, but over time, he took a huge step on that inclusivity spectrum to the point he now speaks about my journey in his sermons and advocates for the full acceptance of gay people within the church. He still can't say the word lesbian, but that's another story. Now, that is a radical example of a step toward inclusivity, right? And I know that not every individual can experience that, but there are a range of different tools and learned actions that we can adopt in order to ensure we are more inclusive. Because, and this is the important part and the really exciting part, the people who can make a difference in this space are you. So we can be requested to fill in diversity forms and tick boxes until the cows come home, but unless we consciously take the step on the inclusivity spectrum, nothing is really going to change. Why though? Why should we be bothering? Why are we even having this conversation? Well, other than it's the right thing to do, because it absolutely is. We've been talking about the importance of diversity to fuel business success and innovation for years. And if you haven't already seen the evidence, here's a quick snapshot. So, ethnically diverse organisations perform 33% better than non-diverse groups. Forbes Best Workplaces for Diversity see 24% higher revenue growth. In Matthew Syed's incredible work, Rebel Ideas, The Power of Diverse Thinking, which I cannot recommend highly enough, he states that the act of harnessing the power of cognitive diversity is set to become a key source of competitive advantage. Pushing for diversity is often simply seen as a politically correct move, but Syed stresses how diversity has far greater impacts than we would gather upon first inspection. So his essential premise is that diversity of thought is key for Rebel Ideas. I love that concept. The diversity of thought is key for Rebel Ideas, by which he means innovation. We have some control over that diversity of our thought, which is really great. And as I said, we'll go through some tools on how to be able to do that better going forward in this talk. The positive impact of D&I, diversity and inclusion, is irrefutable, and yet we still don't do it, or at least not well enough. So for anyone who is a business leader, founder, CEO, or HR lead, I believe we have a real responsibility here. I believe that it is the business community that is best placed to most effectively address the issue of inclusivity. Think about it. Universities have only a small percentage of the population at any one time, churches less so. Where are you guaranteed to see the vast majority of the population turn up on a daily basis at work? As I said, if you're a business leader, sit on the board, or are an ambassador, or have the ear of senior leadership, then you have a responsibility to ensure that D&I becomes a core theme running throughout the centre of your organisation's business model. Businesses are fumbling through this D&I journey, this requirement, with no real roadmap or clear strategy. Technically, it is still nice to have, particularly in light of the current climate. So how does the importance of D&I become a need to have, a must? The answer is when the business case for diversity stands to solve an actual problem that is a problem for business leaders. What could that problem be, I hear you ask? How about the example of customers? So I advise businesses on growth plans and strategic plans and facilitate relevant business support most weeks, if not days, in my day job. Every single conversation that I have with them centres around the importance of customers. How do we find them? How do we keep them? What are their pain points? How do we improve our services to them? So customers are a big deal, and subsequently a big problem if businesses don't have them, right? Well, if we have a workforce that is not truly representative of society, then we're going to struggle to keep our customers, because we won't truly understand what it is they want or need from our products or services. It's as simple as that. Here's an example from America. So by 2045, only 45% of the American population will be white. They will be what's called a minority majority. Subsequently, that means that the customer base of a large percentage of organisations will be truly diverse. And in order to meet the customer's needs, businesses need to know via their workforce what those needs are. This is especially important when it comes to the digital world, the world of tech, which we're talking about today. Selling products and services to customers, we need to sell technology solutions that are representative and usable by society. Let's think about that for a second and break it down and use a real life example. So there's a YouTube video that shows a soap dispenser, you may have seen it, that automatically squirts out foam by detecting a hand waved beneath its nozzle. It appears to work seamlessly except on black skin. During the 20-second rather uncomfortable clip posted in 2015, no matter how hard the chap tries, all the smart soap dispensers in the room refuse to spew out foam on his dark palms. This is startling, as I'm sure you'll agree. In the testing stage of that hand dispenser, Black people weren't even thought about. If the team that manufactured and tested that hand dispenser had more diversity in it, this might have not have been a problem, and the company wouldn't have lost over, an exorbitant amount of money in the recall, redesign, marketing campaigns to rectify the issue and rebuild brand trust. Here's another quick example, which isn't necessarily digital or techie, but it's still an absolute doozy and gets me every time right. So let's say I'm a man and I have been put in charge of a team of designers who are all men, and we have been tasked with finding a solution to the number of deaths resulting from automotive accidents in 1958. Through an old-fashioned design thinking approach, we go through a simplified process of defining the problem, ideation, prototype, and test. And what we come up with is a seatbelt, which works really well for men, but less so for women with breasts. I don't think I've ever gotten through a journey without tucking the damn thing underneath my arm, right? So this was perfectly highlighted in a 2000 article, which was titled "What Science is Missing When Women Are Missing." So a couple of examples which highlight the negative connotations of creating products without a diverse workforce, and don't even get me started on artificial intelligence, which I actually will just quickly touch on because it is so important. In 2018, again, you may have heard this one, but it gets me every time. In 2018, Amazon decided to build an algorithm. Algorithm is basically a set of rules a computer follows, which learns from the data that's fed into it. So this Amazon algorithm was created to sift through CVs and select the top ones for interview. The job spec was for web development managers. The data used was the past X number of years worth of successful candidates, which seems sensible, right? Design an algorithm on successful past data. Slight flaw: because of the complete lack of diversity representation over the previous X number of years at Amazon, the successful candidates were all white males. Therefore, anything other than a CV from a white man in their mid-30s was discarded by the algorithm. I have no words on that one, so I'm going to leave it there. Okay, so now I have outlined the issues and why it is so important to strive for diversity in your workplaces. I'll illustrate some of the tools and actions to help you take that step forward on the inclusivity spectrum. As previously stated, our unconscious minds are responsible for a lot of the reactions and consequent decisions we make. Think back to my pilot example. I hated myself for that emotion, but I'm not alone in such reactions. So here's a gender-specific example, and we're going to concentrate on the top and bottom rows here. So the results of more than 1 million tests on a diverse spectrum of the population suggested that most people have these unconscious associations. Over 1 million people were asked whether they thought there was a strong association between males and career, to which 40% responded positively. When the question was asked whether they thought there was a strong association between female and career, the response was 5%. Now, this level of either conscious or unconscious bias is staggering in this day and age, but the great thing is that there are ways in which we can address this. It was Eric Kandel, a neuroscientist at Columbia University, who received a Nobel Prize for his work on memory, and he was once pressed to say how much of the mind works unconsciously. He gave an estimate of 80 to 90%. The actual number isn't important or really even possible to derive, I don't think, but the point is that experts agree that the ability to have conscious access to our minds is really low. Okay, now let's get into some practical tools that you can implement in your day-to-day working lives. So, number one, and I stole this from the author of The Blind Spot, The Hidden Biases of Good People, another great book to read if you're interested in learning more in this area. My screensaver is an image of a range of diverse groups and people. Something as simple as that action reminds me every day of the wide-ranging and wonderful groups of people we have in this world, people I wouldn't necessarily see on a daily basis. The next actions were highlighted in a recent BEMA report on diversity, which is another great read for anyone interested. Just Google BEMA diversity report and it should come up at the top of your Google. From the top, any initiative or action must come from the top. Whatever the initiative, whether you're looking to increase the numbers of women and BAME in leadership positions, I know BAME is a crappy term and no one likes it, but I don't know another, or whether you're looking to attract neurodivergent talent, it must come with the wholehearted support of leaders. It should also be authentic, which is really important. Another example recently in the press, I don't know if you guys heard about the comments by the CEO of CrossFit. He said openly to colleagues on a Zoom call after the tragic death of George Floyd and subsequent BLM movement, "We are not mourning George Floyd." Now, not only is this not up to the CEO to decide what employees do and how they feel, that statement makes it very clear that no amount of D&I planning and implementation will be effective in this company. That's again a pretty drastic example, and the vast majority of CEOs, particularly the ones I talk to, do want to make a difference, which is good, because D&I, as I've said, it really needs to be embraced at the top and filtered through the entire organisation. Okay, data. Any and all actions must be supported by data. Assumptions are dangerous, so before you launch initiatives, find out what the reality is for diverse groups in your company. Gather data from recruitment exercises, inductions, appraisals, surveys, and exit interviews to establish whether you have diversity issues and what they are. Ask for help. Look into enlisting help, from tackling discrimination to championing neurodiversity and training mental health first aiders. Ask for help in diagnosing issues, identifying solutions, and training the people who can improve the situation. There are some great initiatives across the country. I personally have got a range of connections in this space, so if you are interested in learning more, please do reach out. LinkedIn is best, and I can forward on any details. It can be as simple as talking about it, so start the conversation. So much of the shift required to truly celebrate diversity is cultural. It requires individuals to feel able to break the silence about their mental health, their loneliness, their stress, or cognitive difference. And it requires organisations to create the right environment for that conversation to take place. You can start to make that change by appointing mental health first aiders or neurodiversity champions, by running general awareness sessions, and by holding events that celebrate diversity. Virtual events, of course. Expand your company holiday calendar. So little things mean a lot, and for minority groups, even small instances of representation can make a big difference. In addition to Christian and secular holidays like Christmas and New Year's, be sure to include holidays that represent the religious beliefs of your company at large, and things like, Pride and celebration of LGBTQ+. Include the whole community, so the community piece is really, really important, and changes to our industry and the way we work have to be led by the communities that it concerns. For example, a manager who is neurotypical cannot make the workplace more neurodivergent friendly without letting the neurodivergent voices be heard and empower them to lead the way. Managers can provide the structure and the channels for this to happen, but to make a difference, change must be led by the diverse individuals who have lived experience of the barriers we have identified. So that's just a handful of options and tools that you can take away and implement into your workplaces. There are so many more ways in which you can ensure D&I runs through the whole company and the company activity just by doing a little bit of research. And again, I'm not saying these actions are easy to implement, and they're certainly not. The D&I email link with the tick box 20-minute course to prove your business is diverse. It's more than that, but it should be more than that, because it's the right thing to do, and it will positively impact your business and the society in which your business operates. So if I can leave you with one thing from today's talk, it would be take a step along the inclusivity spectrum, using the tools that we've covered today and anything else that you want to implement. So that's the end of my talk. Thanks for listening.
Oh, thank you very much, Deb. I can see how passionate you are about this subject. So people, please do put any questions you have into chat, and also you can share some links from there. I think Nicole's just put a book in there for us to have a little look at as well. So Lean In Leeds, sorry, I don't know your first
name.
Joe. Joe is asking, any suggestions on how to progress with workplaces for employees?
Sorry, what was the question?
Any suggestions on how to progress with workplaces for employees? Not quite. Joe, you can turn your mic on if you want.
Yeah, Joe, let's have a chat. Come on.
There's not a lot of us.
Come on, Joe.
Hello.
Hello.
What I meant was that sentence didn't make any sense at all. Sorry about that. So a lot of workplaces, it's also more words in real life, this question. More workplaces have diversity and inclusion programs, and as you've mentioned a little bit, it's a bit lip service sometimes. Yep. The problem is they very much have their own agenda of how they want that to flow. Yep. Have you got any views on ways that we, as sort of maybe the people that are the support network that might help progress it, can really navigate that to create real change. I had a
Good
chat about
question.
this with someone at work the other day, and we were literally saying how we'd love to really create some strong movements, but we don't want to cause any ripples.
Yeah, no, I love it. And the great thing about that is that there is an agenda for that. There really is at board level. You know, it's becoming more and more of a it's still a nice to have, but the profile raising piece around it is making it that it's going to be hard for leaders to, if employees go and say, we want to start a working group, we want to start a steer, we want to create something here where we can make true change. It's going to be really difficult for them to say no. And I think I think your question is around what maybe Lean In can do and what Wild can do, and She Does Digital and the other amazing organisations out there, what we can do to assist that. And that's a really great question. I think we should all come together around a table and have a conversation and really flesh that out. Off the top of my head, I would say we can offer a support service for those groups, and we can give advice and best practice and templates and agenda points that will bring out really effective change. I think it's a really good idea, and it wasn't on my agenda, so we should definitely pick this up and actually come together as a group. Yeah, we should do something. It's, you know, there is an appetite there, so we should absolutely be doing it. The other thing I would say is, you know, a lot of businesses now give CSR days or time out to do things in the community or to try and advance individuals, and it would be really great to see. So at Bruntwood we get 2 days a year, and I get to use one of those completely on Wild for the conference, right? So it would be really great to be able to have a process in which you can use that time to actually work on this kind of stuff. And maybe we should do a mapping exercise. I'm getting excited here. A mapping exercise to see what companies have in that space, and we can say, look, we can offer something here.
That totally aligns with some of our plans as well, actually. So yes, definitely. Thank you.
Okay,
That's really
awesome.
good answers.
Yeah, no, cool.
Thank you, Jo. Thanks, Deb. Fabulous, some new work started there. And libraries are always accepting CSR if anyone wants to have money. But we love it if it's in time for people's time on our co-clubs or our hacks. Now virtually, obviously. But also like the Pimoroni sponsorship from City Fibre as well. So if your company is interested, do just get in touch with me. So Nicole is asking, what can organisations do to ensure that they recruit a more diverse workforce?
That is a really good question, and a quite a tricky one actually, because you can only interview who applies. I would say spread your net further. So actually it really leads in nicely to a call I had yesterday with NHS Digital, who went through a round of recruitment in their cybersecurity space 6 months ago, and not unfortunately, but you know, in terms of the diversity piece, hired 9 white men, and that's okay. You know, they're going to be bloody good at their jobs, but in order to be truly diverse for innovation purposes and for the better of the whole organisation, that comes back to the recruitment process. So the lady reached out to me. She actually, as a Wild representative, and said, look, can you help us? Can you promote these jobs on your forums? Can we do some promotion? Can we do some marketing? Can we do something around this to ensure that those coming for interview are from a wider pool that allow us to then interview and make those decisions? And I think the onus is on the organisations, and they should reach out to their local communities, and they should reach out to diverse groups and for promotion purposes, and work more collaboratively to ensure that they have a diverse pipeline, for sure.
Really well. I think also tech returners programs as well, and you know, get into tech programs will help as well, because you'll find people who might not have thought of that as your first career, but they're now kind of interested in it. They might have experience from other jobs that they've been doing, and a lot of companies in Leeds did offer that, such as Sky, Farnell, that kind of thing. And I think it's because you have to look at the skills gap as well, don't you, and how you can get people to the level.
I mean, for the skills gap piece, we could talk about that all day. You know, it's a topic that's done stuff, but there's a reason why it's so important. And I think the addressing the digital skills gap will require the returners, retrainers, early grads, you know, the whole spectrum, because digital touches everything, and we you know, if you don't think you work in digital, you probably do to some element, and you probably will more so going forward. You know, the future of the workplace is going to be incredibly digital based. So yeah, but there's so much support out there. Tech Talent Charter is another great one. So yeah, there's a lot of activity in that space. I just think sometimes it's the promotion of it.
Yeah, and maybe reaching people at a younger age, I think, is important to tell them about the full range of opportunities and jobs in tech and digital.
Yeah, you don't go to uni to be a cybersecurity specialist or a pen tester or a UX person, do you? And I think there is that education piece around, you know, you can do a geography degree at university and then go on to be a coder. You absolutely can. You know, there's so many real life examples of that.
Definitely. I don't think we've got any more questions, but there are some fantastic links going on in chat. Like we said, a book on unraveling unconscious bias. So there's a link to that in Goodreads, and also a BBC programme, Bottom Line. There's a good listen from Sue as well. So thank you so much for sharing those links. I will try and get those in an email to everyone with the link to today's tech talk. So I know that Deb is busy today. She's got another meeting at 1. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much for that to you, Deb. That was really fantastic, quite eye-opening. And yeah, thanks. Yeah, thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone for joining us today on your lunch break. I hope you managed to have a little sandwich and a cuppa as well. And please do join us for our next Tech Talk. We will be having a break next week, but then we have Gary Hibbett, who will be talking to us about the Confessions of a Hacker, so cyber security, which will be quite an interesting one, I think. And we also have Colin Cripps from BJSS, and he will be looking at AI and ethical side of the algorithms and tech and that kind of thing. So that might link to, you know, what is it, the social experiment or something that maybe everyone's watched on Netflix. I haven't watched it yet, but I have an idea. So if you want to get in touch and want to do a tech talk, please do claire.duffield@leeds.gov.uk, and please follow us on @Leeds Libraries if you have any comments on today's talk. Thank you, Deb, again. Absolutely wonderful as always. And have a lovely rest of the day, everyone. Take care.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Cool.
Is that all right?